ASU baseball has had a consistent tradition of having some of the best shortstops like Hunter Haas and Sean McClain, and this year is no different with Luke Hill. Now, Hill may only be a freshman, but he does not play like it. Head coach Willie Bloomquist has been so impressed by the freshman and has loved his situational hitting and his ability to move runners. But above everything, he loves his character. He is willing to do whatever it takes for his team to win. And speaking of team, his teammates love him. He's a team player, and Ethan Long has said time and time again that he has that dog mentality in him, and when the lights turn on, he will put on a show, and tonight he will have to do that against UC Davis.
Of course, there are no moral victories in hockey or really any sport, but at the same time, you have to give it up for these Sun Devils. They were in it until the very last seconds, and of course, they didn't get the win, but you saw on the ice, they had their hands on their knees. They gave it all they had. So if you're head coach Greg Powers, of course, you're not happy with the loss, but you have to take the good from this game and convert it over tomorrow, because now they have another opportunity to take down the number 2 team in the nation. So you have to take the good and also the bad and head into tomorrow's game.
Spring training is a great way to see your favorite players up close because there is rarely a bad seat in the house, and some are downright relaxing. And you don't have to worry about extra innings since these games don't count and often end in a tie.
Even though it's a big crosstown rivalry game tonight, there's still some family ties on the diamond with the Crenshaw brothers. Now, Dustin, he's a second baseman with GCU, but his older brother Wyatt is a right fielder with ASU. Now, these brothers grew up playing baseball in their backyard since they were little, so tonight is extra special for the two of them, especially because they grew up in Chandler, Arizona and attended Perry High School, so they understand what this rivalry really means. And it's going to be very special for their parents as well, sitting out here at Phoenix Muni watching their sons. And now I know it's not the same level as Donna Kelsey did with her sons at the Super Bowl, but still, it'll be interesting to see which parent roots for which son tonight. Most people know the Savannah Bananas for their high energy, their crazy TikTok viral dances, and their antics, but these players are more than that. A lot of them played college ball and then decided to take their baseball careers in a more unconventional way. Most transfers walk onto their new field, look around, and don't see any familiar faces. Well, that wasn't the case for Xavier Guillory. When he looks to the sidelines, he sees his former Idaho State head coach, Charlie Ragle, and that relationship has developed over the years and goes far beyond just the game of football.
It seemed like the message was pretty clear from Coach Powers after the game, and with more on that, we send it downstairs to Sammy Miller.
You're exactly right, Matt. Last night, Coach Greg Powers shared with us that he has loved the shift in his squad's mindset. Their new mantra now is they have to want to win the game instead of feeling like they need to win the game. When you head on onto the ice and you feel like you want to win the game, you're out there and you play more loose and more freely. But if you feel like you need to win the game, that's when you play more tight and more mistakes tend to happen. So that mindset worked for them last night, so we'll see if that works for them tonight against St. Thomas.
Well said, Sammy.
I'm joined alongside ASU Volleyball's new head coach, JJ Van Neal. Welcome to Tempe. How are you enjoying the Valley so far?
Thank you. Loving it. I wish the warm weather would start getting here. It's been a little cold, but no, it's great. This is, one of the jobs I always felt was a dream job, partially because of the location. I think Tempe is just such a cool city, lots of food, lots of places to go, things to do. So it's been awesome.
Now let's travel back a few months around Christmas time when you got that phone call. Just take me through the emotions when you heard that you were going to be the new coach.
A little bit overwhelmed. I've got a family, kids, and you're like, wow, this is real. And no matter how much you prepare for it, you're still like, okay, they might say no, whatever. So it was just a great feeling, my wife, my kids, everyone was really excited about it, really happy, getting the head coach opportunity, and especially at a school like Arizona State. And I think, as I've said in some other interviews, like the passion that the administration had through the whole process just helps get you excited, and so I get really fired up. And
you coached at USC and of course Utah.
Yep.
So how do you think coaching at Pac-12 schools will help you here?
I think there's a few things. One, you kind of know the travel, the routine, what you're getting into. I think you kind of start knowing how all the schools are as far as just kind of how they train.
Welcome to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Sammy Miller.
Here in Phoenix, the NFL meetings are underway. Owners and coaches from all 32 NFL teams will discuss the state of the National Football League, as well as open up about their team's off-season moves. For more on the meetings, our Jack Pearson joins us from the Biltmore in Phoenix. Jack?
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. You know how the rest of the song goes. Every college basketball fan knows. One shining moment, the soundtrack to the anthem of March. Every player and every coach dreams of making it to the biggest stage. Bobby Hurley and his squad are no different. The last time the Sun Devils made it to the Madness was in 2019. So needless to say, they are hungry to make it back to one of the most exciting tournaments across all sports. But before I go on, let's travel back a few months. ASU had one of their best starts in program history, going 11-1, including huge wins over Michigan, VCU, and Creighton, leading to a top 25 ranking. At that time, a March Madness appearance was a lock, but that was 3 months ago. The Sun Devils are now 18-9, losing 6 of their last 10 games. What seemed to be a certain postseason dance is now turning into a desperate dash to March. 4 games remaining before heading to Las Vegas for the Pac-12 tournament. The next 3 weeks will decide their fate. Now, they can't go back in the past, but they can focus on winning 1 game at a time. That will and want to win goes far beyond just Bobby Hurley and his team. ASU is dying to have a successful squad that they can get fully behind, and this right here is their best chance. Now, don't get me wrong. Utah, Arizona, UCLA, and USC are no easy feats, and now they will have to make a serious run in the Sin City. But maybe, just maybe, their gritty underdog mentality might just be enough to get it done and punch a ticket into the big dance. And that's the way it is.
It's not all too often that the Super Bowl shares the same weekend with another high-profile sporting event, but not this weekend in the Valley. Now, the Chiefs and Eagles might be competing up in Glendale for the Super Bowl, but right here in Scottsdale, hundreds of the best golfers in the entire world are competing on the greatest show on grass. Now, the countdown to Sunday continues to see who takes home the Lombardi and the Phoenix Open Trophy. But don't you worry. Sit back, relax, enjoy this gorgeous Arizona weather, and watch greatness unfolds.
Like Coach Hurley said, it's been a busy few weeks for the Sun Devils, and the madness continues. Now we bring in our men's basketball reporter, Ben Paris, to talk about what happened in Dayton on Wednesday night. Ben, in what seemed to be the most dominant victory of the season that came at such a crucial time, what did the team do so well that allowed for that all to happen?
Sammy, it's hard to say that they did everything well because Bobby Hurley believes there's always more work to be done.
And a big part of March Madness lies outside of the game itself. The Sun Devils played in Dayton on Wednesday and traveled to Denver to take on TCU tonight. So what are some of the factors to this game that are outside of the X's and O's?
Today is the final day of the first annual Beyond January Classic, and when we talked to Coach Natasha Adair, she said it was a no-brainer to have this tournament named after one of the best Sun Devils to ever grace this hardwood at Desert Financial Arena. Really, Beyond January has done it all. She's a WNBA champion, a WNBA All-Star, and a Sun Devil Hall of Famer, but really what makes her so special is what she does off the hardwood. She gives back to the community and really embraces what it means to be a Sun Devil for life. I'm joined alongside assistant coach Alex Hicks. Coach, your power play unit has been very strong all season long. What do you think the biggest factors contributing to that?
Well, I think the guys are getting used to each other, and we've got a lot of talent out there. We always could be better, and you want to score. The hard thing about the power play is when you're successful, the rate's about 20%, so you're failing 4 out of 5 times. So it gets a little frustrating when we don't score, but they've looked good the last couple of games, and we've got one tonight, and we needed it. Hopefully we get another chance to score again.
And now that Boston College third line is very strong, very talented. So what do you think you need to do to stop that third line?
Well, we just have to keep pucks in their zone when they're on the ice as much as possible, and don't give them any transitions. So that's the way they scored the goal. They had a little transition, they made a nice play and scored, so we have to keep the puck in their zone when they're on the ice, I think.
And of course, it's New Year's Eve, so do you have any New Year's resolutions for your team heading into the second half of the season?
Oh, geez, that's New Year for the team. Listen to their coaches.
Fans Fans love coming to spring training to escape the winter weather back home and usually come here to the valley and enjoy the gorgeous warm weather. But today it's a little rainy here at Sloan, but it just shows you that the weather here in the valley could be a little unpredictable. For more on the average sunscreen factor, I'll send it over to Peyton Major.
One player who knows the struggles of being on an injury-ridden team is Eddie Johnson. This former Suns guard is hopeful that the Suns can take the good and the bad from the past and use that to help accelerate them to make a run in the playoffs. Right now, the Western Conference is neck and neck with only a few wins separating the top teams, making these next few games for the Suns that much more important.
The Eagles and Chiefs have landed. Both teams arrived at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport in Arizona on Sunday, exactly 1 week before they face off in Super Bowl 57. The Chiefs arrived first just before 2 p.m. The players were greeted by Chiefs Hall of Famer Christian Okoye, who swagged them out with Super Bowl merchandise and snagged a selfie with Patrick Mahomes, which unbeknownst to him was photobombed by Travis Kelce. The Eagles landed shortly after, all decked out in matching gray sweatsuits. Jalen Hurts rocked a vintage Eagles jacket over his sweatsuit as the rest of the Eagles clan headed to the buses that took them to their hotels.
Now tonight is a huge night for the Sun Devils. It really is a game for pride. Now this is the fourth time that ASU will be facing Alaska Fairbanks. They lost the last 3. Now it's one thing if you go up to Alaska and you get swept. It's a whole different story if you get swept up in Alaska and also here on your home ice. Now, head coach Greg Powers has said time and time again that they have to be the team that comes out and throws that first punch. And tonight is no different against a very talented Alaska Fairbanks team that's trying to make a push for the tournament.
Now, Kevin, I know last weekend was a doozy in the Valley with Super Bowl 57 and WM Phoenix Open, but this weekend is all about the Sun Devils. We have men's and women's hoops, baseball, softball, hockey, wrestling, and gymnastics. Kevin, I'm getting tired just listing them all.
Hey, I feel you, Sammy.
Spring training is underway here in Arizona in the Cactus League, and today we're at Camelback Ranch for the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. So make sure you get your peanuts, your pretzels, your Dodger dogs, all of your favorite ballpark snacks, and tune in for the 105 first pitch. The Suns have 2 more remaining home games at the Footprint Center, next up being the leader of the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets. Now the question is, will Kevin Durant's winning streak continue when he's playing against the Joker? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Terrell, how does it feel to be back here in Sun Devil Stadium?
It feels good. It feels good to finally, be able to come to a game. I'm happy we up right now, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going and take this win home.
And taking you back to your time here wearing the maroon and gold, what did it feel like to be playing in a big game like the Territorial Cup?
It's the biggest game of the year. It determines how good your season was, whether or not you win the last game.
I am joined alongside the Executive Director of the Cactus League, Bridget Binsbacher. Thank you so much for sitting down and joining me today.
You bet. Thanks for having us.
So the Cactus League, it's known nationwide. Everyone knows and loves the history behind it, and there's 10 different stadiums with 15 teams. But how did it all begin?
Well, it began many years ago, 1947. The Cactus League organization was formed, and it was with 2 teams, the then Cleveland Indians, now known as the Cleveland Guardians, and the New York Giants, now known as the San Francisco Giants.
Like you said, it started so long ago, 1947.
Yes.
It's crazy to even think about what life was like in 1947. But where have you seen the biggest forms of growth and development in the league?
Just really our facilities. And there was a time in the late 90s, mid-late 90s, where the industry was really, Cactus League was in jeopardy.
We are just days away until Super Bowl 57, and right behind me is State Farm Stadium, where there are hundreds of workers that are working so hard to make sure the field is in top-notch condition for both the Chiefs and the Eagles. But for one groundskeeper, George Toma, this isn't his first rodeo. He was a groundskeeper at the first ever Super Bowl in 1967 and has worked every single Super Bowl since. For more on the start of Sun Devils spring ball, we bring in our football reporter, Jake Seymour. Now, Jake, this season has already looked way different from last year. What has the intensity looked like so far?
Yeah, so right now at practice, the intensity has definitely been kicked up a notch since last season.
And with Dillingham coming in, we knew he was going to bring that energy, that enthusiasm. What we didn't know is he was going to be on the field with a mic in his hand, basically emceeing an event. So what have you liked so far from him as a coach? As most fans will tell you, it's a home run for them every single year, and the best way to get ready for baseball's national holiday, opening day. We'll see you next time.